It helps, Ryan, when you turn on your microphone and turn off the mute. What I was saying there is, I love that lead in, that introduction gets me all pepped up to dive in here and talk to you today about how to access hiring managers, how to ultimately get past gatekeepers, because that's what we allow individuals to be in this hiring process. Good morning, Jennifer. Welcome from Southern California. Thanks for diving in here. Let me know in the chat where you are dialing in from, and I'll acknowledge you. And I'm happy to be here with you today. And remember, throughout this conversation, it is a conversation. This is live. So if you have any questions, I'm monitoring the chat here on LinkedIn right in front of me or over to the side and on YouTube here. So I'll have to see them. But I do want to answer your questions as I'm going through this. Okay, let's dive in. This is a meaty presentation. So make sure you have a pad and pen, or even just a camera. Just take pictures of the things you see on the screen. I do have some templates that I'm going to introduce you to in here. My desire is to serve you through this conversation, okay, to give you some real good stuff that you can grab onto and you can use today. I believe that most of you are going to fit into a couple of different buckets, okay, a current state. So let's go through some of those things. I think that some of you might be employed. Right, I end up working with a lot of people who are employed, but for some reason, for whatever reason, there is a miss in your current organization. You're being undervalued. You're not feeling like it's a fit. Oftentimes after an acquisition, things start to get a little bit wonky. For some reason, there's not a fit. Or you're employed, but you've been looking. You've been trying to go out there and hit the pavement, but you're realizing, holy crap, this is hard. This marketplace is different than other marketplaces that I've been in the past. You might be unemployed and you're just getting started, but you know that you are going to be strategic in the way that you approach your job search, right? You're strategic in the work that you do in your day job, and now you're going to be strategic in the job search process. Getting to hiring managers is the most strategic thing that you can do, but you got to do it with process. Or you've, been unemployed for quite a while, right? You'll see from some of my testimonials as we go through here, people who've been unemployed 4 or 5 months, and it's just, you're just not getting through to anybody, right? And so how do we get through that frustration, break through with process and strategy that gets you to the table consistently with hiring managers? This is all about control and consistency. If you fit into any of those scenarios, you are absolutely 100% in the right place. We're going to give you some really good, meaty information here today. And so let's just keep diving through. The job search right now, what does it currently look like? Right now in the job search, most people are hitting job boards hard. They're going out there, and I talk to people every day who have applied to hundreds of online job postings. Hundreds. And it is exhausting. It is frustrating. It starts to make you feel like you're just not being seen at all. Like, am I ever going to get a better result from these efforts that I'm putting in here? Okay, there we go. Getting all aligned on the presentation navigation. Oftentimes people are getting ghosted by recruiters. That's the most often person that you're being ghosted by. And why? Because the recruiters are the ones that have the biggest volume on their plate as relates specifically to this job search process. You're spending long and exhausting days. You're plotting away, you're plucking away, but you have little to talk about at the dinner table. And I want to talk about that concept because the dinner table conversation is the main reason why I created this company, the Job Hackers Network and the Job Hackers Method. At the end of the day, when you're in a job search and you come home to the dinner table, your significant other says, hey, how did it go today? Your ability to say, it was freaking awesome. I had 3 conversations that were needle movers. That is way different than dreading that question at the end of the day where your kid says, right? My kids play a game where they say, we're going to talk about our day and we're going to tell a story. And they do eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And when they get to you, are you going to have something to say about what you did that day as relates specifically to moving the needle forward on your job search? I see you, Camille. Good morning from Guatemala. Awesome. Great to have you here. Let me put that into the broadcast so people can see it on LinkedIn. And Jennifer with that agreement. All right. So let's get through that one. Here's what it looks like when you're trying to get to the table and get those at-bats. The way to do it is direct. because the recruiters are oftentimes trying to hold you back from getting to the hiring manager. Why? They're actually doing their job well when they're doing that, because what they have in front of them is 1,500 applications to an open role that they've got to vet down to only 5 people that they're handing over vetted individuals to the hiring manager. When you're getting direct to a hiring manager with your value proposition, you have the opportunity to be seen, but we're going to dial into this really heavy based upon the value that you bring to the organization, right? Your value has to be extremely clear and evident. So why do we access hiring managers? Hiring managers, they are the true decision maker. They're the ones that have the ability to say, absolutely, I'm going to bring you in because I understand the value that you bring and I understand the pain that I have. Right? They know the problems intimately within their organization, within their business, what needs to be solved, what needs to be fixed. Hey, Dave, I see you over there on LinkedIn. Good morning from El Paso, hotter side of Texas. Awesome. Okay, good deal. Up. Navigation issue there. Let me adjust it and keep trucking forward. All right, so they're the person who is the most likely to pay you according to the pain that they have in their business. The way that you get an increase in your pay is you go after pain with your value proposition and the solutions that you bring to solve that pain. That's how you get a 30, 40, even 100% pay increase in your job search process. The other reason why you go after hiring managers is because it's fun. It's the one conversation in the job search process that is not painful. Now, you could have a conversation with a good strategic recruiter and feel like it was not a painful conversation. But when you're at the table with a hiring manager, talking to them about their business and how you can move the needle forward on their business, there is no other conversation that is better than that. You know it. That is truly getting to the table with the person that matters, that has the pain, and being able to connect the dots between what you bring and what the solution is that they need. It is a fun conversation. I want to bring into this the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle, it ultimately says that 20% of the work, the input, brings about 80% of the return in most scenarios. Now, when you look at most books of business, most operational things that we're trying to get done, this rings true. 20% of the effort leads to 80% of the output. And so what I'm going to talk about here is why getting to hiring managers is part of that 20% of the work, the focused work that brings the high ROI. Let's get into the data. According to HubSpot, 85% of jobs are filled through networking. Getting direct to the conversation. Zippia says that 85% of jobs are also filled through networking, so corroborating data. Then you've got CNBC that says that 70% of jobs are never published publicly. If they're never published publicly, where are they? They're being filled by individuals who are networking internally within the organization or by individuals external to the organization who are getting directly to the hiring managers and partnering towards the filling of a role. That's the hidden job market. Right? They're not posted in those public spaces. According to LinkedIn, 70% of people who landed professional jobs had an inside connection. Right? Networking is absolutely critical. And in this presentation, I'm going to give you an order of priority of who you should be networking specifically with. And based upon the title of this presentation, the hiring managers absolutely 100% fall at the top of that list based upon the power that they have to get stuff done. Okay? Now, the meat and potatoes for the presentation, we're going to be talking about a kind of a 3-pronged approach to getting directly to hiring managers. And it is going to be about nailing in your messaging, having the target aligned, and then having appropriate volume. And appropriate volume does not mean spray and pray, right? We're going to talk about that. It is not about sending out hundreds or thousands of messages. It is about targeting those messages and drilling in. If you have a solid message that delivers a clear value proposition, and it is targeted at people who give a crap, hiring managers who have those problems that you could solve, and it's done at a reasonable pace, at a reasonable volume, you are going to absolutely crush networking. When you have those three components aligned, if your networking is not working, look to those three components. Is your messaging on point? Are you targeting the right people? And are you acting at appropriate volume? Now, if your messaging sucks, then you have to send out more messages. Your volume has to go up. If your targeting is off, your volume has to go up. If your message and your target are on, your volume can be much lower. Okay, and I'll show you how as we go through this. I am going to give you templates as we go through this, so stick around through the whole presentation, okay? This is going to be packed. Why me? Why should you be paying attention to this specific conversation from this specific guy? I want to walk you through a couple of components there really fast. I was formerly working with ADP and Booking.com as a Fortune 100 HR director, HR business partner. I've seen behind the scenes of thousands of hiring processes. Now, I will tell you, I was not the decision maker. You need to know that. The HR person is not the decision maker. They are a gatekeeper. They are a person who can stop the decision, throw up red flags and say, wait a second, people. There's a reason to go around HR and recruiting folks, to get directly to the conversation that matters with the hiring leaders. But I can tell you how the process does play out. 10 years ago, I started traveling the world working for Technifind International. I was in 13 different countries in about 2 years. We would get an executive recruiting contract, and I was the one, as we're flying to Singapore, or Hong Kong, or Sao Paulo, Brazil, wherever it was, 50 different U.S. states, 50 different trips within the U.S. states. And I was the one who had about 2 weeks to fill our calendar with about 30 meetings. So I became an expert in networking, getting to the table, getting time. 8 years ago, I specifically, in my own job search, in a 2-week, 10-day time period, landed 33 job interviews, which I then flew myself to Seattle and executed in 4 days. That's when I used this in my own job search. Then at ADP, working for a global organization, 60,000 people, I led the global career development teaching program for all of ADP, teaching ADP how to network, brand, and move up in your career. Okay, so from that broad scale corporate space. Then 2 years ago, I built the Job Hackers Network, the Job Hackers Method, and have helped hundreds of individuals to get directly to hiring managers, build their value proposition, and get shit done. Okay, land roles that matter. I don't want you to just take my word for it, though. I am going to show you a couple of testimonials as we go through here to add credibility, because what I want to do here is I want to make an impact on you. I want to give you information that you're going to stop and listen to. And so that's what the testimonials are meant for, is to help you stop and say, okay. Before I worked with Cameron, he was on the job hunt for 4 to 5 months. He was getting burnt out. He was not getting responses. He was in a consulting grind, 75 hours of work, a week, lots of travel. He wanted to move into a different time of his life. He used a refined networking process, and he identifies there a clearly defined value proposition to get to the table, specifically with Hewlett-Packard, tell his story, and land a role where he was able to transition to that new time of his life, travel less, work 45 hours a week, and just kill it from a total balance perspective. Ram Krishnamurthy, he says, spent a lot of time on job boards, spent a lot of time trying to get through the artificial intelligence to a real life human for 3 to 4 months, and I couldn't get it done. He landed a 2 times increase in his compensation with AWS in 8 weeks through effective networking, getting to the right people. Same thing with Will. He was able to drill in his value proposition, double his income after previously looking for 4 months. All right, looking to the chat. We're looking good on chat. If you have any questions, pop them in chat. I'll definitely be looking at that as we're going through here. All right, so we're diving into nailing your messaging. Okay, let's start off and get right into a template. The first aspect of this is why is it important? When your messaging is on point, it enables an individual to see you quickly, visibility and control. That's what we want in the job search process. We want to be seen. We want to get to the table with hiring managers, have control of our calendar, of our time, of our delivery, of our selling, of our packaging, okay? It gets down to the basics. Hiring managers can see you for what it is that you do and say, hell yes, I'll meet with you. 15 minutes? Yeah, of course. I would be an idiot not to, because what you're packaging in front of me and your value proposition lands on point with what I need to do in my business. Okay, so messaging, it's about crafting an undeniable value proposition. It's undeniable when it's in front of the right person, undeniable to them. Okay, so that's where targeting comes into play as well. And then with that value proposition in mind, then we step into crafting the message. Okay, step one for the undeniable value proposition. Okay, get out your camera if you want to take a quick pic. I'll try to circulate a recording of this afterwards, but we'll see. All right, so the components of an undeniable value proposition. Who are you? Who you are, right? Who are you? Who do you serve? Who is it that you make an impact on? What are your strengths? I'm a certified strengths-based coach. You're going to hear me talk about strengths a lot because you need to know the activities that fuel and engage you so that you can brand yourself towards that work so that you can then do that work without apologizing for it, get paid at your true market value, come home to your family at the end of the day with energy in the tank because you were working in your strengths throughout the day. This is all connected. If you want balance in your life, if you want work-life balance, it's not something that your work gives you. That's something that you make happen. By the way in which you package yourself and sell yourself forward, by the clarity that you have up here. For an individual to be clear about what you deliver, you got to get clear first up here. And then you add in a defining accomplishment. Okay, let's put that in a template. I am a role in this industry serving these companies. Coffee break. All right, next part. I help these people, right? You're going to see this play out because I'm going to fill this out for you. My strengths in strength 1 and strength 2 equipped me to do this. Okay, so let's play this out. Thanks, Camille. Yeah, work-life balance is one of those things that we think that work is going to create it for us or give it to us. No. You gotta bring that. You gotta do that. You gotta make that happen. All right, now let's play this out in a full example. I am a former HRBP in the tech industry serving ADP and Booking.com. Right? Imagine me in an elevator saying this to somebody, right? That's elevator pitch version. I help leaders make prudent decisions, so that's who I help. I help leaders make prudent decisions that build associate engagement and improve associate retention. Okay, what is that? Boom, boom, boom. That's the who I help, the key metrics. Those are the two key things that as an HR business partner, I need to move the needle on. Associate engagement, associate retention. Now, how do I do it? Through my strengths. Through my strengths in coaching and facilitation. So if you want on your team an individual with those strengths who is able to do things like the accomplishment seen here, right? Can you see how well that allows an individual to say, yeah, I get it. I see who he is. I see what he does. I could see him in my business. That's how you get a job. You enable somebody to see you in their world. And through your value proposition, through knowing who you are, clean packaging, that's what enables them to see you in their world, as if you were sitting side by side with them. Okay, I can see your comments in YouTube if you pop them in there. I can see your comments in LinkedIn if you pop them in there. So let me know your questions, your comments, anything. If this is resounding with you, give me that thumbs up. And if you're on YouTube right now, make sure that you subscribe to my channel while you're there too. Okay. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you want to pull that, right? You've got that value proposition in mind. Now, let's put that in a message. Where am I going to use that message? You're going to use it on LinkedIn, folks. To go directly to individuals. You can use it in email as well, but the first place, the most important place, you're going to use this on LinkedIn to go directly drilled in to hiring managers. Now, I want to talk about one thing real quick. Oftentimes, people mistake a hiring manager for being a person who has an open role. Is that a hiring manager? Yeah. But that's not the only thing that makes them a hiring manager. A hiring manager is anyone who has the ability to create the role that you want. They don't have to have an open job, people. It's better if they don't. If they have an open job, then you try to network with them. They're going to say, wait a second, there's a process in place. Go talk to my recruiter. That's where all the people are congregating. That's not the best time to network with somebody. The best time to network with somebody is when they don't have an open job, but by their title, they have the capacity to create the job you want. And when you have a value proposition that identifies pain within their business, they will make a job because they want to solve the pain. Okay? That's a critical component. Drafting the message. A winning message has answers three questions. Why them? Not why their company. Why them? As a human, why Ryan? Why me? Well, Ryan, I was on LinkedIn the other day and I saw a banging post that you put out there. Like, man, this post that you put out on LinkedIn, it hit home with me hard. I put a comment on it and now I'm coming over here to talk to you, right? Why them? Because of something they wrote, because of something they saw, because of something they've done, because of an accomplishment, because of a reference, a referral. Specific. The more specific you can get on this, the better chance you have this day and age on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is getting more cluttered. The world is getting more cluttered. The applicant process is cluttered. It's all cluttered, people, so be different. First place and way to be different is know who the hell you are. Why you? That's who the hell you are. And why it matters to them. Okay, when you get back to my example from my value proposition, I serve these people in this way towards these metrics, and this is some of the results of that. Who are you? What can you do for them? I believe it would be mutually beneficial for us to have 15 minutes of time together because of, right? What are you asking for? What do you want? And that gets back to that. I believe, I perceive, one of my favorite words. Perceive gives you the ability to, you can say anything you want to after you say, I perceive. It's like permission to say, yeah, okay, you could be wrong. I perceive this would be valuable to you. You could be wrong, but you said I perceive. You can say it, right? Branding, absolutely. Thumbs up for branding, Jennifer, absolutely. It is man, the way you're putting yourself out there to the world. Jeff Bezos says your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Well, guess what, people? You can affect what people say about you while you are not in the room. 100% you can affect it. You can control it if your branding's on point. All right. That's what you're asking for. Those three components. Why them? Why you? And what do you want? Okay, you got to get succinct. Go for the ask. I'm asking for 15 minutes of your time. Why? Because I got something of value to you. What is it? This is what it is. Why me? Because this is who you are, and this is what I do. This is what I saw about you. This is what I value about you because of, right? Get specific. What does this do for you? It leads to more at-bats. What's an at-bat? A chance to freaking knock a grand slam out of the park, right? You're at the plate. You're waiting for the pitch. Boom. The first thing that I'm going to ask you, if I'm talking to you and you're saying, hey, Ryan, I've had a lot of interviews. Freaking good for you. Who with? Well, they were with recruiters. That's not a real interview, people. You got screened out. It doesn't really count until you are at the table with a hiring leader, a person who could make a decision to give you a job. That's when you get to put a point on the board. Okay? It gives you more at-bats. It makes it easy for them to see your value. It differentiates you from all others. Your clarity about who you are will differentiate you from everybody else. What is everybody else doing? They're creating resumes where they're just slamming all these bullets of, oh, I did this, and then I was a jack of all trades over here, and then I did this, and they're saying, hey, is any of this valuable to you? Like, can you find the needle in a haystack of what actually matters to you? No, don't do that. Find the things that are in your strength lane, the thing that you want to do again, package it, deliver it. This is who I am. This is what I want to do. Again, it goes back to balance. You can create the job that is your dream job. Your dream job is not a pie in the sky thing. It's not fictitious. It's not crazy. All it is a job that enables you to play to your strengths and pays you at your true market value so that you can bring energy and pay home to your family at the end of the day. That's a dream job. All right, so here's Myberg. Myberg says, I did everything. I did everything that I was supposed to be doing, right? Got professional pictures taken for my LinkedIn profile. It all led to squat. When I started talking with Myberg, he had just finished a 10-round interview that went nowhere. He was depleted. Now, 2 weeks into the course, in working with me in the Job Hackers Method, I asked him how he was doing on social media, and he says, hey, I'm doing great. I'm at the lake with my family at Lake Chelan in Washington. Here's a picture of the lake with a sunrise, sunset, probably a sunset. And then he says in the middle, I've got conversations next week with Limeade, Expedia, Microsoft, Hopper. I am feeling in the zone. Your job search process can be fun. It can. When you can manifest the conversations that matter, the job search process is actually pretty dadgum fun. It's like a treasure hunt, but you're finding the treasure. Okay, then he sends me a picture of his feet in a kayak. One of my favorite pictures I've ever gotten from a client because it says he's at peace. When 2 weeks ago when I was talking to him, he was ready to walk away from the corporate world. He was frustrated. He was exhausted. Then he says here in the middle, I never once spoke to a recruiter. The recruiter organized the interview, but all of my communication was with David, the CEO. He ended up hiring me for a completely different role that wasn't even posted yet. And then he says, thanks, Ryan. Right? He got to the CEO. The funny thing was, for that role that he landed, he applied. He got a rejection. Then he sent me a Slack message and said, Ryan, I'm pissed off. I'm perfect for this role. What's going on? And we crafted a message and said, send it to the CEO because of the nature of where his role was. You don't always send something to the CEO, but size of the company, hey, it made sense. Send it to he sent it to the CEO on LinkedIn. 6 minutes later, the CEO responds, puts him back in the mix, sends his information over to somebody. 6 minutes later. When you have a value proposition that's dialed in and you get it to somebody to whom it matters, right? Where you can change something in their world. You can take pain and solve it. Then stuff happens. Good stuff. All right, let's drill in the targeting. Step number 2. I'm a basketball player. I wish I could still play basketball, but I have 4 knee surgeries, right? So when I was getting ready to step up to the line to shoot a free throw, I spun the ball, dribbled 3 times, looked at the target, and put it through the hoop. Put it through, right, boom, that's my target. I went through a process, routine, right through the hoop, and you had your eye on the target. This is directly applicable to what we're doing right here. You have got to have your target in mind if you're going to hit a target. You have to be able to see it. What is the target? Target companies, target role. I want to talk about the center of influence and the order of priority for your hiring managers you're going after, your people that you're networking with. Okay, let's talk about target companies. If you're going to execute a well-oiled machine of a job search strategically, I recommend you have 7 to 10 target companies that you have on a list. The people you're going after, the organizations you're going after, and this is some of the methodology that you could use to identify them. Where are they located? What industry are they in, if it matters to you? Private, public, what type of organization? If they are a startup, specifically what funding round do you want them in? Series A, a lot different than Series C, right? Startups, life cycle's crazy. So what specific life cycle do you want that organization in for you to be able to impact it and have a lot of fun in that organization, in that role? That stuff might matter. Optimal headcount, revenue, things like reputation, culture. Those are the types of things that I would want to put on my list, or some of them, to be able to vet out the companies I want to work for. Okay? So that'll get you started. The next thing is target roles. You got to know what the heck you're going for if you're going to go after hiring managers. You have to know the general title. If I was going back into the workforce now, I would be going after a director, HRBP role, or a director of talent and development, right? I want to teach people. I want to coach people. So if I was going to go after hiring managers, I'd be going after the VP of those spaces. That's the direct hiring manager. Now, if I was going after a little bitty, itty bitty company, I might be going to the CHRO. There might not be any layers in between that person and the role I want. So you have to think about the size of the company for you to be able to identify the hiring manager, the person who could create the role you want. Okay? All right, doing good on comments. Pop those comments in on LinkedIn or YouTube, and I'll grab those for you if you have any questions. There we go. Just keeping everything clean on my end. Let's talk about the center of influence and control. This is so important as you're trying to figure out who should you be spending your time with. What is it that is at their center? Everybody has a center of control, something that they control, and then a broader center of influence. The people who have the center of control, here I'll go to the slide, for the hiring process is the hiring leader, the hiring manager. They own the decision. So they are the most important person for you to be targeting. The next layer is a skip level leader, an individual who has the ability to heavily influence the hiring of that role. And because they're in your direct line vertical, right? You're going after a director of operations, then you're going VP of operations, then you're going SVP of operations, direct vertical. Then you're going to affect their delivery as well, even though it's a skip level leader. Then next, you're going to go to lateral. Who are the individuals in this role right now who could influence the process? Now, They could influence the process, but maybe not. Maybe they're drawn into a panel interview and you actually interview with them at some point. Maybe you don't. What could you get from them? You could get information from them. A ton of information. How did you get to where you're at? What are the values, the culture? What does the team look like? Hey, what are you facing right now? What keeps you up at night? If you knew the answer to some of those questions, and then next, you're drilling in a message even more direct to a hiring leader, now you're specifically talking about their pain. What you can use when you're going after this lateral level, I have a template in the Job Hackers Method program. It's called the research template. Because one of the best ways to get meetings with people who have the job that you want is to say, hey, I'm just conducting personal research. What you know would save me so much time. Why? Because Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like we as human beings, we're pretty awesome. We're pretty freaking awesome. Most human beings, they want to help you. So if you go to them and say, hey, 15 minutes of time would be like, oh man, it would save me like 2 days of research. Like, can I get in your head for just a moment? Okay, and of course I've got that all templated out for optimization in the research method. But when you're going after lateral level, there's so much information you can gather. Now, the gatekeeper, right? We're getting into the recruiters, the gatekeeper. The recruiter's job is to screen people. That is their job. Why? Because there's freaking 1,500 people who applied to the dadgum job. Why do applicant tracking systems exist? To help the recruiter screen people. Because there's 1,500 no human can go through 1,500 applications and pick the needle in the one person that's going to be a perfect fit because their value proposition is drilled in perfectly. It's impossible. So the place to play is with the hiring leaders. Now you still have to potentially go through a recruitment process, but you're the one that they're comparing everybody to. Your value proposition. Thanks, Jennifer. Okay, now now we're going to get to HR. Okay, now I'm going to be hard on HR because I was an HR person for 15 years. I know. And there are a lot of shitty HR people out there. There are a lot of HR people that want to have power. Now, what do they have? They have influence. They do not have ownership of the decision. So why are you going to them? Why are you bringing them in and cluttering the system? Just go to the hiring manager, people. If you're getting to the HR person, you have got to have that hiring manager's buy-in for them to be able to say, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep talking to this person. And I've seen so many of those conversations with an HR person trying to talk an operations person out of something. Right? Why? Because they're trying to mitigate risk and all that stuff. Okay, yeah. Now, there's a place for a great HR person to be heavily involved in this because they are a coach. But you don't need to be going to them and involving and cluttering the process. Okay, what does this do for you? It allows you to invest your energy and your time wisely. That's what you're about, right? You are a smart business person. If you're going to invest in the stock market, you're not just going to go spend money and put it in cash and get 2% back. And you're going to invest according to what your broker, the professional, tells you to. This is about investing your time so that you get a high ROI back on it because you're talking to the right people. You're having the right conversations with the ability to sell yourself effectively while you're there because you know who you are and you got your clear value proposition in mind. You are at the table having freaking awesome conversations. The ones that jazz you up, bring energy to you, the ones you want to talk about at the end of the day with your wife, with your husband, with your kids at the dinner table. And you are a partner to the process. You were at the table when they were building the job. I was in a job for 3 years before finally my leader came to me and said, hey, the CEO came to me and said, hey, maybe you should write a job description now. I didn't even have a title for the first 3 years. But how did I get that job? I went to the president and CEO and said, hey, I'm playing basketball with a guy over here. And he identified a value proposition within his insurance agency. I'm getting ready to move. I think I can do the same thing for you. Let's meet. I drilled in on something, a pain point, and they said, yeah, I got hired on the spot with one interview because I was not a bystander. We were building it according to the value proposition. And then when the value proposition is aligned, the risk is low because they know exactly what you're going to do. What happens when the risk is lower? They pay you more. They will pay Organizations pay for lower risk. This is all aligned. Okay, Jamie Dahl's testimonial, she says, I was shooting in the dark. Didn't have a process, didn't have networking, but I knew I needed to network. When she had the Job Hackers method, she felt in control. She had a process. She was no longer waiting and hoping. And she felt like she was a part of the process throughout. She says it was fast. She was actually able to land a job in 10 days. Okay, let's jump into the third component. Ooh, stand out. Jennifer, you're identifying stand out. So stand out, I mean, you said it as two separate words, but stand out is what the Marcus Buckingham Company's product is called. And I'm certified as a strengths-based coach with the Marcus Buckingham Company. And they have a product called Stand Out that enables you to identify your strengths. Okay, so if you want to do any digging deeper into Stand Out as a product based on your comment, it's awesome and it helps a lot with this process. I actually incorporate it into my program as well. So what does the volume look like? Typically looks like this concept of just boom, boom. I sent out 100 today. Let's send out 200 tomorrow, right? You got to constantly one-up yourself, sending out hundreds of messages. And if you are sending out hundreds of stock messages, if you're getting a 10% response rate, and that's not a 10% like, hey, I'll meet with you. That's just like, thanks for the message. Anything negative, positive, any type of response. Ryan, stop sending me messages. That's still part of that 10% of responses. If you're getting 10% back on that, you're doing well. But that's not what we're going for. What we're going for is sending out 3 messages and getting 2 meetings. How do you get there? And I'm going to drill into that for you. Okay, so there are 2 specific focal points. When your goal is to send fewer messages and get a higher response rate, what are those? All right, let's dive into those 2. They're starting with proven templates. And then once you have proven templates, you A/B test to continuously improve. This is the type of work that you do in your day job. I know you do. If you have a project that comes across your plate, right? You bring in a project manager. You bring in proven process. You bring in somebody who did it before you. You bring in the stakeholders and you manage it like a project. You can do that with your job search process absolutely 100% as well. And instead of it being like this typical topsy-turvy up and down thing, it can be like this, steady rising curve. Because you are in control of your calendar, what's happening there, how many conversations you're getting. It can be a steady rising curve. All right. How? Proven templates. What's it going to allow you to do? It's going to allow you to ride on the coattails, the sweat equity, the work put in by other individuals. Okay, so if you're working specifically with me, I use Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I've used my templates in 10,000s of different communications, the sweat equity of others, and we're consistently dialing those in. It enables you to get off the starting point, to get off your anus and move. One of the most scary things in life is a blank piece of paper, right? Think about that. When you have a blank piece of paper in front of you and you need to write a networking message, that is hard. But when you're starting off with proven process and templates, now you can get off the starting block. It gives you something to test. It gives you something to throw into an A/B test. What is an A/B test? It's a left and a right turn. You take a message and a second message. Send 10 of one message to a group of 10 people, and you have to track who you sent it to because you need to track the results. Maybe with this one message, you get 2 people that respond. You have another message that's materially different. This is a marketing strategy, right? We do A/B testing and marketing all the time. And then you send it out to 10 other people. Well, 3 people responded over here. Okay, bring that result front and center, split it again. A/B testing, looking at differences in the message and the result that you're yielding to be able to drill in your effectiveness. That's how you start off with proven templates, and then you move forward and A/B test, and that's how you get to where you're sending out 3 messages and getting 2 people to say, hell yes, I'll meet with you. Absolutely. Right? You get dialed in. You're going to know which message is yielding results. You're going to continually improve in your process, and you are going to have a job search that is fun. When you know that you can sit down and watch Matlock or whatever the heck you want to watch, The Real World, sit down and watch some TV and send out a few messages that are dialed in, and you know you're going to have conversations the next day, That's awesome. That's power. That's control. That is not the way it feels when you're sitting down on LinkedIn and applying to 30 jobs. You know while you're doing that you aren't going to get jack squat back from those 30 jobs that you just applied to. And then 1 in a million, right? 1 out of the 150 that you applied to is going to respond to you. Why is it that way these days? It didn't used to be that way. Why is it that way? Because when we send out a job requisition, it's not just going to LinkedIn. It's going to 15 different job boards. And even on LinkedIn, in 3 days, there's 1,500 people that applied. The clutter is crazy because we live in an information day and age where it is so easy to send it out everywhere. So stop playing to that clutter. You also get a result much quicker. You saw from Jamie's testimonial a little bit ago that she landed a job in 10 days. Why? Because she got to the right hiring manager, had a conversation, right? Jennifer says clickers in the comments. There is actually the ability to do like a one-click apply in some of these places. The easier it is to apply, the more people, the more clutter. Yeah, it doesn't work. All right, so Andrea. Andrea says, I was doing a lot of online applying, filling out a ton of information, and not getting any feedback. I just saw a post this morning where somebody said, hey, are you not getting any feedback in your interview process? Yes, that's not the place to get feedback. The place to get feedback is at the networking table where there's not this gross process in place and people can actually give you real feedback because you're having a real human conversation with them. And they're not flying under all this HR red tape in the interview process. Stop trying to get real feedback from the interview process, people. You're barking up the wrong tree. She landed a role in 6 weeks after trying on her own for 1.5 years, right? It's a grind. It's exhausting. Okay, so at this point, this is kind of one of those pause moments. I wanted to make this meaty. I wanted to give you templates. I wanted to give you information. I wanted you to be able to leave this conversation, and some of you might leave right now, and that's okay. If you have what you need to execute, I care about you, I want to serve you. And so to be able to do that, I want to give you an opportunity to have a conversation with me. Okay? So that you can get on my calendar and we can soundboard on your process, specifically about what you're seeing, about what you want to do. I want you to get off the starting block at that record pace. Okay, so now in the chat, let me go ahead and just post in here. All right. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. Okay, so let me go over here on LinkedIn and I'll post in chat. Boom. Okay, so there's a link to the there, and then let me grab it from here. Bear with me and I'll put it in the YouTube chat as well. All right, cool. And there. Boom. All right, so now we got the link over to my calendar in a couple of different places. So you can jump over to my calendar. We'll have that conversation, take about 30 minutes to soundboard about the process that you're going through. And in that conversation, I will give you actionable steps that you can take specific to you. Specific to you. My favorite thing to do in this world is to coach people, right? These conversations are fun, but to coach people one-on-one. And in that conversation, if we're clicking, if it makes sense, then I will talk to you about the Job Hackers Method. Everything that I've been showing you here, the way that the Job Hackers Method works, it walks you through building out the foundation of your job search, getting to know yourself well so that you can sell yourself direct to hiring managers, networking direct to hiring managers, step by step, all the templates, everything that you could need throughout that process so that you can execute with strategy and control, right? You've got templates, you've got worksheets. You also can have weekly group coaching calls with me, and a private Slack community so that you are not going through this process alone. And I want to ask you, what would it be worth if you had control throughout your job search process? What would it be worth to you if at the end of the day, you came home to your family and had fuel in your tank? You had energy at the end of the day because you became intimately aware of the work that fuels and engages you, and you sold yourself purposefully towards that. Right? Unabashedly, unapologetically, you said, this is who I am, and you knew this is where I add value to the organization. This is where I can serve you to the greatest extent while also serving myself and my family at the same time. That is power, folks. That is power. right? Michael says, hey, I've been at this. Mike Green says, I've been at this for a while. I'm not green in this process, but I wasn't getting through, right? It wasn't happening for me. He needed proven processes that ultimately led to him having multiple job offers that he was analyzing at the same time. You ultimately have two choices, red pill, blue pill, right? I'm a nerd, I'm a Matrix fan, so we're going to throw this out there. You can choose to go at it alone. That's fine. If I've served you through this information, that's awesome. That's what I want to do. But you might choose to say, no, Ryan, I want process. I want to know left or right turn. I want somebody to be able to soundboard with. I want somebody to be able to look at my templates and say, is this going to work? Tweak it. Give me a sentence. Here, I'm going to say it verbally to you, Ryan. Now give me the words on paper. Right? One of the things that's the hardest thing for each of us to do, we might be good at selling products and things for other people, but selling ourselves is hard. It is hard. A lot of people I work with are marketing folks, right? Business development folks. They're great salespeople. But when it comes to packaging them and selling themselves, there's a miss. Thanks, Penne, for the great information. Thank you. Perfect. All right, let's keep going through here. I think we're pretty good there. I can show you Kyle's resume. Said with conviction that I was at the lowest point in my career when I started to work with you. Frustrated, lost. He landed a 10% better pay and stronger benefits. And so now I want to jump into, while I'm running this little video at the end, give you about 5 more minutes to book time with me. Ask me any questions you want. I'll monitor the chat in LinkedIn if you have questions. I'll monitor the chat here in YouTube if you have questions, and answer those after this 5-minute timer's up. Okay? All right, awesome. Hey, Dave, I wanted to acknowledge your comment. You said you're traveling. You'll get on my calendar in a few weeks. Awesome. Sounds good. So if you haven't grabbed time on my calendar, do so now. Grab that calendar link, right? Click, open it up in a side banner and keep that thing open. But let's talk. I mean, this is an energizing conversation. This is great. But let's get one-on-one and let's actually dig into how you can apply strategy to your job search. And there's no commitment in that conversation. The commitment is to the time. If it then is a fit, we'll talk about working together. Okay, so let's talk. Let's strategize. Have a good one. Bye-bye.